Good afternoon. Welcome to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones. This afternoon's topic: racism is not about color. Now, some of you might disagree with my position, but a number of us have always listened to the talking heads when it comes to racism. But even the talking heads really don't know the definition of racism. Now, I am not naive. Racism still exists, although Jim Crow laws have been outlawed. But there is an excerpt of Jim Crow laws still floating around. Now, everybody can be racist, because being a racist is basically having a prejudice against groups who are different than your group. You could be the minority or the majority group. But when somebody is a racist, they basically are racist based on the stereotypes that they hear about other groups. This is why you have the back and forth that's going on. This is why you have the Democratic Party utilizing the coalitions to divide the masses of people. This is why you have the Democratic people with the coalitions, with the divide and conquer. They utilize particularly the minority people as votes when it comes to every election, whether it is presidential or midterm elections. But racism is a system. It's another system with ism, ISM, at the end. It's like socialism, capitalism, Marxism, communism, and populism. Now, I have never seen real racism. Now, this also depends on the part of the country that you lived in. Now, I grew up in Baltimore. Grew up in the 80s. In the 70s. I'm 53 years old. I know there are parts of the country, like I said, where they have a lot of racists. But the system of racism is defined as a group who has the majority power to suppress or incapacitate groups with least power based on a system that they create. Now, what is involved with the creation of this system? Well, it's elitism. Now, what the elites do, they create a system that has the elitists who dictate the market because they have the money. They dictate the political environment. And they also utilize the social impacts of what's going on when it comes to cultures. So to sum everything up, racism is basically defined as you have a group who has all the power, and what they do, they suppress or incapacitate groups who have less power, and what they utilize is economics, politics, and social status. That's what racism is. Too many of us on the minority side utilize racism as a scapegoat to feel like a victim. Now, don't get me wrong, there is racism out there. I'm not foolish enough not to say that. But I think too many of us in the minorities, when we don't get our way, we want to cry racist. We also want to cry sexism. That's what I believe what's going on with this Monique situation with Netflix. Well, the bottom line with her is you negotiate better. You get your name out there by being on tour, and she had some other problems in Hollywood, and that's why she got blackballed, and people don't want to deal with her. But that's another topic that I'm not going to talk about because there are other YouTubers who have put the topic out there. But what I'm trying to get to everybody is that when people are racist, they basically have a prejudice. But when people deal with racism, that's just another system based on the group who has all of the power. And I'm not saying white people, because white people, believe it or not, they suppress their own people as well. And you get the lower class whites who think they're better than everybody else because of their white skin. But you have a lot of elites who are African American. You even have some elites who are Asian. You look at all of your Hollywood elites. These are the individuals who set the tone for everybody else. These are your 1%ers who always cry that there's no fairness. Of course there's no fairness. Life isn't fair. But a number of us, again, use racism, and I'll include sexism in this video as well, as a crutch or a scapegoat to try to emotionally rev up everybody because they feel like a victim. And there's a difference between racism and victimization. Being a victim can be by choice, and it cannot be by choice. Now, it just depends on the situation. Now, if you are a victim in the context that you've been raped or you've been robbed, you are a victim. But if you are a victim based on not getting paid the same as somebody else, well, that's not victimization. It could be discrimination, but it also could be that you didn't have the negotiation skills that the person who's making more than you had. There's many ways that you could talk about victimization. But the bottom line when it comes to racism, too many of us are screaming racism and sexism without having any knowledge or understanding of what racism really is. Many of us today have never seen real racism. Real racism occurred back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s when government had policies where you looked at water fountains and bathrooms and restaurants. It's when blacks had to ride in the back of the bus, whites rode in the front of the bus. That's true racism. Now, I've never suffered that. Now, can individuals have racist thoughts? Absolutely. So what I'm trying to put out there is many of us need to stop utilizing the term racism if they haven't felt racism. And there are many African Americans and other groups out there who have made it, and they make a lot of money. And a lot of your Hollywood elites are the first ones who are crying that everything is not fair, but they're making millions of dollars. When you're the average Joe out there and you feel the pain of the tax structure, you're trying to pay your bills, you're trying to go to school so you can make something of yourself, they do less complaining. I don't understand why all these selfish elites out there want us to feel sorry for them. I don't feel sorry for them. Let them burn for all I care. But when it comes to actual racism, racism is a system. It is a system that is created by the elites who have all the power, and the system that has been created, undermines minority people economically, socially, and politically. Again, many of us haven't felt real racism. We may have had racist thoughts or racist accolades thrown at us because somebody doesn't like you. You can't stop people from liking you. What you have to understand, this racism topic is, or when I put out this racism topic, is racism affects all of us. Even Caucasian folks. They don't call it racism. It's basically classism with them. But they're in the same boat. Your lower class or your working whites is blacks, Hispanics, Asians. Because when you are in a class of elitism, elites don't care about anybody. In fact, this country is basically a corporation. The government is funded by corporations. Corporate donors who donate to these politicians' election efforts. That's how this country is. It's an oligarchy. If you don't know what an oligarchy is, it means for the rich, by the rich. So I wanted to take time to put out this topic to let everybody know that when you talk about racism, you need to know what the word racism means before you utilize it. Just because somebody doesn't like you doesn't make them a racist. Now, if they are calling you derogatory names, that's based on prejudiceness. That's based on the stereotypes. And this is why I tell a number of individuals, turn off social media, turn off the television, do some studying on your own, because a lot of your colleges really don't educate, they indoctrinate. And this is why you got the society that you have today. Lack of accountability and responsibility, lack of maturity. And over the past 50 years, we've gotten out of the mindset of really working hard and smart to depending on the government. That's the change in demographic in this country. We've actually obtained a third world mindset, which is the welfare state. And the welfare state keeps you down. If you want to make it in this country, you have to understand the system. Now again, you have racists out there. But racists don't understand racism. Let me back up. There's a difference between being a racist and racism. Again, somebody who's a racist is basically prejudiced and ignorant, uninformed. Again, they utilize what they hear on social media, television, and this is the elites also doing that too, because they're the ones who are in charge of all the propaganda, and people don't understand that. But when it comes to racism, again, it's the elites who established the system that incapacitates individuals who are, in their eyes, lower than they are on the class schedule by utilizing the incapacitation of lower groups socially, economically, and politically. And if you hear this video, I mention nothing but color. So we have to stop, particularly the minority folks, utilizing racism as victimization. There's always going to be people who are ignorant out there, who are racist, who are sexist. You're never going to avoid that. We have freedom of speech to protect speech, even though we don't agree with it. But understanding the term racism doesn't mean what we believe it is. We get the two terms racist and racism incorrect and out of context. So I wanted to bring this topic to the forefront to let everyone know that there is a difference between being a racist and racism. Being a racist is when you are prejudiced against people who are different than you. Racism is another system that was built by elitists, and most of your elitists are Caucasian. They believe that they are superior, and everybody else below them, including some of their own, are inferior. So they devise a system to incapacitate people to the extent that they deem lower than they are based on economics, social status, and politically. That's why we have a divided country today, because we have a lot of people who are misinformed. You don't have to go to college to understand what racism is. All you have to do is get a book out, utilize the internet for educational purposes instead of entertainment purposes. You can utilize social media, bring up some YouTube channels, use Blog Talk Radio. There's a lot of information out there. If you can use the internet for entertainment purposes, you can certainly utilize social media, the internet, and even find some educational information on television about racism. But here's what you have to do. You can't be lazy. You can't take everything that is produced on television, because I believe too many of us watch television. That's where we're getting our information. We can't look at reality shows. We can't look at the Tonight Show. We can't believe everything that is told to us in print media. We can't believe everything that's told to us from colleges. We have to go underground if you really want to understand real racism. Because there are a number of us who get caught up in our feelings, but we don't take time enough to look at the subject matter for what it really is. That's where we fall victim. And I've always said, when it comes to emotions, they cloud critical thinking. Now, you can disagree with me on the topic. That's fine. But I actually have read about racism. You must remember that racism is a system. It has nothing to do with your color. We make it about color because we've made everything about color over the last 20-something years, particularly with Democratic presidents Obama and Bill Clinton. And that's why you have the identity politics in politics today. That's why politics is more partisan. Everybody can be prejudiced of someone else based on our differences. But that does not mean that you understand what racism and even sexism are. They're different entities. So what I'm suggesting everybody to do is take time out, pick up a book if you're really interested in what's going on in the real world, and get informed. Don't listen to all the talking heads, because what's happening, particularly with all these protests out here, a lot of individuals are getting caught up in their feelings because they don't like President Trump. Well, when Obama was in office, you had the people on the right who were protesting his policies. Two different entities. When you get caught up in your emotions, you don't think about what you're doing. And the individuals on the left are protesting because they actually hate the president, and it's personal with them. Once you start taking everything personally and attacking people personally, you lose focus of the subject matter. So at the end of the day, one must understand that racism is devised by the people who are elitist, and they have the majority of the power because of the money, and a number of them are Caucasian, and they believe that they are inferior over the minority population who doesn't have as much income or education or social status as they do, so they devise a system to keep everybody else down, and they continue to make money. That's why you have the oligarchy in the United States, because if you keep the minorities down and uneducated, we're going to continue to depend on government. But racism is the incapacity that is felt by the minorities through the elite majority when it comes to economics, social status, and politics. And if you don't believe me, check it out for yourself. And you'll get answers that are much different than the propaganda that you're seeing in your educational institutions and mainstream media. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 401 Talk Zone radio show for this afternoon, Monday, January 22nd, 2018. You can tune in to the 401 Talk Zone radio show running every Saturday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. Call-in number is 215-383-5785. And also with the Blog Talk Radio show, I'm going to do some 30-minute podcasts as well. And I'm going to try to put them on YouTube so I can get some more detailed information about the subject matter that I am producing, because we need better information out here, because there are a number of us who are uninformed. And on that note, if you like my videos, please share and subscribe to the 401 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube, so I can continue to give you quality information for educational purposes from a professional and mature perspective. Now, on this channel, I don't engage in debates, controversy, or emotional issues, and that's based on how you, as the audience member, take the presentation of the topic that I am presenting to you. Also, I don't engage in drama or unnecessary bickering because it is counterproductive. What I do on my channel is just give you information, and I teach individuals about the real world. I research the topic. I have my own personal opinions. I do not utilize my personal opinions. I like to base my opinions off of facts, empirical data. But what I do is give you the information from a realistic but positive view. I don't attack anybody. That's the wrong way. I try to help, because when you have information, you have power. If you understand how the real world works, you'll succeed and you won't be a victim. But that all depends on the individual, because you have individuals that are comfortable with being victims. That's why they claim everything is sexist and racist, even the ones who have all the money and power. And if you have knowledge, you do have power. And if you have a topic, a new YouTube channel, or a business that you would like for me to shout out or discuss on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio, feel free to email me at lej6521@gmail.com. And if you have a topic, please, or if you have a comment to the topic, please make sure you put your comment under the comment section. But make sure that your comments are pithy. No bloviating, pettifogging, or filibustering, if you wish to opine. Now, another thing I want to tell you about comments, make sure that your comments are mature. I deal with mature people. I don't deal with the trolling. I don't deal with the snide comments. I'm not going to answer anybody's comment if they're uninformed. And I read my comments. I don't delete them. But if you're going to be a subscriber to my channel, understand that I'm not like everybody else. I'll produce positive content. You're welcome to come here if you want to. But stay on the topic. Don't change the subject matter. I have a number of people who just want to come here to cause drama. I don't put up with drama on my channel. That's why I always tell you at the end of my video to put your comments in the comment section. Don't filibuster. Be honest with the subject matter. And if you're honest with yourself, you'll go a long way in life. If you're in denial, you're always going to fail, because you don't want to hear the truth. And that's the end of this video. Again, my name is Leon Jones. Remember, please be gentle and respectful to each other, and have a wonderful and blessed afternoon.